Tonight, from Beverly Hills, California, you're invited to the 24th RNCI Red Nation Awards, the authentic voice of American Indian and Indigenous cinema. Join us as we honor this year's greatest performances in cinematic achievement, Hollywood and Indian country's biggest night for American Indian and Indigenous voices, brought to you by Red Nation Celebration Institute and Red Nation Television Network.
Our first award recognizes the importance of getting it right in telling our stories. The Native Film Consultant Award was created to encourage the industry to hire authentic voices as consultants in movies and television involving Indigenous values and characters. Such stories have tremendous power to shape attitudes in the larger culture, and it is imperative that we bring people into these consulting positions who represent the true ways of their nations. And the first recipient of this Red Nation Award goes to Chief Phillip Whitman for his work in the film Hostiles. Please welcome Christian Bale, Scott Cooper, and Rory Cochrane.
Everybody, it's such an honor to be asked to be here tonight. I have such incredible memories looking at that photograph up there. When I first met Chief Phillip, I had no idea of the soul and the substance that he was about to bring to our film Hostiles. I thought that we were going to recite a few lines of Cheyenne, end of story. But as you've all seen, the chief has a profound presence, and that imprinted upon every part of our making of the film Hostiles. One morning, he gave a blessing to us all. And he had toughened horse wranglers and stuntmen, grown men, weeping. And we all recognized that there was something that we wanted to return to. And so this blessing became a ritual every day at the start of the filming of Hostiles. And it created an authenticity, compassion, an empathy and an understanding that you can see throughout this very, very special film, which I'm incredibly proud to have been a part of. The chief dives very deep and he flies incredibly high, and it was a real joy to get to be by his side during that time. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Chief Phillip Whitman.
I just like to say, I mean, if it wasn't for Scott Cooper, I would have never met Chief Phillip, and for you to hire him, you know, there's got to be that too. But I will say that the impact he's made on my life, I could go on for an hour about the white owls that visited me and the hawks and all kinds of weird stuff that is really you can't explain. But it's not about us, and it's about him. And so with a borrowed line from Chief Phillip Whitman Jr., I will say, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I echo what both Christian and Rory have to say about the chief. When I sat down to write Hostiles, I said there were two things that I must have to make the film. One is one of my closest friends and collaborators, Christian Bale, to lead the charge as Captain Joseph Blocker. And the second thing that I had to have in order to make the film was the great Wes Studi as Chief Yellowhawk. Little did I know that once I started to prep the film, did I realize that there was a very third important person that I needed to make the film. And in the end, someone who probably taught me more about myself and about indigenous culture than most anyone, and that is Chief Phillip Whitman Jr. from Montana. And I will tell you that he urged me to really understand his culture, his language, their traditions, in ways that I never would have without him. And the film would never have been such a rich experience for me, for Christian, for Rory, for the rest of the cast, and I hope for the rest of the world, if not for Chief Phillip. So please help me in welcoming this great honor of Best Film Award Consultant to Chief Phillip Whitman Jr. from Montana. Chief.
I want to thank the Red Nations and Joanelle. I want to thank the crew up here. And most of all, I want to thank Lynette. She helped me with phonetics, and Cheyenne is my first language. And I want to acknowledge my two daughters, Florence and Nellie. Nellie's named after the late, great Nellie TwoBulls, and She was a real teacher and an educator and a keeper of songs among the Lakota Sioux. And then my daughter Florence, we named her after the last Cheyenne warrior woman of the Northern Cheyenne people. So they have greatness and legacy, and this is just a small part of their journey. I wanted to bring them and introduce you to them tonight. And I want to have Lynette say a few words.
Well, I would just like to thank Red Nations Film Festival for, bestowing this honor upon Phillip, and it's well-deserved. He does a lot of work for our community. We have a nonprofit, Yellowbird, where we work to empower our youth. We do a 400-mile run from Fort Robinson, Nebraska to Montana, and we do a lot for our community. And as a chief, it's not leading from the front, but it's leading from the ground up, and it's leading from the back forward. And in doing that with leadership, we do a lot for our community and to help people. And Phillip here, he was raised to do that. And so the work that he did with Hostiles, I know it meant a lot to him, and I know it means a lot for him to have, everyone up here with him right now. And, we're all proud of him. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for giving him this honor. It means a lot to our family and to our family back home and to all of our people. So thank you. Nia'esh, Wopila, Tanka, Chichiape.
When I first come on set, I seen Adam Beach, and I called him over, and I said, "Do you see that non-native woman sitting over there in the stands about 500 yards away?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Watch." So I touched the earth, and I said, "Watch, she's just going to look at you. She's going to look over here at us." He looked at me and shook his head. And about that time, she looked at us. And I said, "Look behind us, there's a white horse in a pen." I said, "It's going to lift its head up, and it's going to turn over. It's going to look at us." Sure enough, he said, "How are you doing this?" And that is, "You see that crow flying? It's coming." It's coming. I'm going to summons it. It started coming, and it got about 30 feet away from us. And it started standing still. And I said, "It's struggling to make it here, but I'm going to release it." And as soon as I released it, it shot off in a different direction. He looked at me and he said, "How can you do that?" I said, "Through my imagination." You have to be real careful what you imagine, because you'll become what you imagine. He was standing there looking at me, shaking his head. And Rory, I don't want to talk too long, but Rory, he created a scene where I taught him how to say, "It's unforgivable what we done to you." I taught him how to say that. He said, "It's unforgivable what we done to you." And he done it in the rain, and it was cold. When I first met Scott, one of the individuals that brought me to him, he wanted me to refer to him as a master or expert. But Scott knew who the expert and master was. I stood alone, but I stand on shoulders of greatness. And he saw that. He felt that. And then Then I got blaspheming Christian. And he took to the language. It's a sacred, holy language that you use to create miracles. And tonight, all of us being here, it's a miracle. Thank you.